Take 2 of episode 9 of Trev's Review Show, right here on Trev TV. I'm Trev. Y'all know that. If you're tuning in, if you're watching. It's too sweet. Anyhow, as I mentioned, this is take 2. Take 1 didn't quite turn out as well as I wanted it to. And, well, there were ways that I recorded the original episode 9, which would not have been suitable for YouTube. They would have hit me with copyright claim and all that fun shit. So we're doing it something completely different. I'll try and make it as good as I can within the limits that I can, and hopefully you'll all like it. So today we're starting with Past Transgressions, which is episode 1 of Gods of the Arena. As I mentioned, I'm starting with the half season first because in the chronological time order, that's how I understood the story best. You can do it your way, however you choose to watch. If you want to go season 1, then mini, then 2, then 3, that's totally up to you, but this is how I do it. And I can't show you too much, but we'll get started anyway. So as I mentioned, this is set 5 years before the arrival of Spartacus, but we do get a nice little flashback from the last episode of season 1, which was titled Kill 'Em All. I hope that had nothing to do with like the Metallica cover or the name of the Metallica album, because that would have sucked. But anyway, we come up to the part in the flashback where you see pretty much the last on-screen appearance of Andy Whitfield as Spartacus. And I'll explain more into that when I get to season 2. I mean, there are reasons why they had this mini-series in between 1 and 2, and that could encompass a whole video. But anyway, the beginning kind of starts off with flashbacks from season 1. You see basically how far Quintus wanted to extend his grip of power and his ambitions and everything he wanted to do. How he betrayed everybody, including Spartacus, before ultimately meeting his end by getting his throat cut. But I'm going too far off course. I'll end up getting into season 2 at this point. So as mentioned, we are 5 years before Spartacus, so that chronologically, timeline-wise, this would put us at 77 or 76 BC in the Roman Republic. It's not quite an empire yet, it's still a republic. But it shows basically what made Lenistas rich and famous in Capua at the time, which was combat sports, gladiators in the arena. You see some nice little fights, you see a guy getting his head cut off, but you don't see Magistrate Sextus or Tullius. The two guys you need to impress. The Magistrate because he is the local purveyor of the community, and Tullius because he is basically the richest man in Capua. He's funding the new arena. If you get his approval, if you're a guy, basically shows him that, hey, he's worth a spot in the games, we'll let you in. We get a brief introduction to Vedius, who is basically Gladiator's competition, if you want to call it that, and his lack of basic respect for Tullius for Gladiator as a Lenista and as a person. He doesn't introduce Gannicus. Or Gannicus' opponent before starting the match. In old Roman, as far as gladiatorial combat was concerned, and to the Lenista who's providing the talent, to not do that is almost a slap in the face. So basically, Vedius is slapping Quintus right in the face. Match starts. Still no Magistrate Sextus. Still no Tullius. So basically, Gladiator is showing off Gannicus who was his prize fighter at this time, for, a payday, essentially. Now keep in mind the old arena is so tiny and so small that Gannicus is able to jump around like a bug to execute some of his moves and basically show off his ego, if you want to call it that. Salonius asks Quintus, "Is your man ever of a serious note?" To which Quintus replies, he can fight naked with his cock hanging out as long as he wins. So that shows you how dedicated to being paid and a good linista Quintus is. At this point, the guy Gannicus is fighting kind of took him by surprise, cut him in the arm a bit, which pissed off Gannicus, so he drops his swords and starts kicking the guy's ass with his bare hands. The guy still has a shield and a sword, and Gannicus is fighting with his bare fucking hands. Having fun doing it, too. Obviously, the guy gets back up, so Gannicus is going right back for his swords, grabs one, rolls over, grabs two, stabs the guy in the stomach. That's how good Gannicus is. Obviously, Quintus kind of A, in amazement, and B, trying to hold him back because he still wants Sextus and Tullius to show up so he can impress them with a good kill. Gannicus has him near dead. All he has to do is finish the job right now. But Quintus is saying, "Don't do it, don't kill him yet, don't kill him so quick." I don't think Gannicus is listening because his competition gets two swords across the neck. His head doesn't fall off, but he bleeds out like a chicken. So with that, obviously, Gannicus won the fight. Not too many dudes get right back up after getting their throat cut, and no sooner than that happens, Tullius and Sextus finally show up. Hell of a fight to miss, but I digress. I do want to mention that this half season is enjoyable for the camaraderie and the relationship that are had between Quintus and Salonius. They were friends to begin with. So now that Quintus has done his time there, his guy has fought, he's out the door. Before he leaves, he tells the messenger to go talk to Doctori and tells him, hey, basically take him back to the Ludus, which is the Gladiator school. They called it a Ludus. And he wants Gannicus well rewarded for his effort in the arena today. We'll get to his reward in a bit. On Gannicus' way back to the dressing rooms, he gets taunted by some of Vedius's men, like, hey, maybe the pretty little bitch will be able to fight in the afternoon sometime. Gannicus' reply is, yeah, you best pray that day never comes. Doctori comes up to Gannicus and says, he's basically telling him, hey, don't ever drop your swords in the arena again. To which Gannicus replies, hey, I could have killed him with missing both legs and an arm. It would have been no big deal. To which Doctori replies, hubris, a fine quality, often possessed by cunts who perish by it. So after the scene with Gannicus and Doctori, they basically go back to Quintus, Salonius, and Lucretia walking through the streets of Capua, walking past the slaves. One thing I do want to mention, though, there is no shortage of boobs. Lots of boobs, whether it's on slaves or Romans or Lucretia alike. Lots of boobs. But as they walk through the street, Gaia gets spotted by Lucretia, and naturally they're catching up. The question gets mentioned about Gaia's husband, to which she replies, yeah, he doesn't take to road anymore in this life. We'll get more into the kind of person Gaia is a little later. But anyway, Lucretia and Gaia both look at Quintus and say, hey, can we fuck off and go socialize and catch up and whatever else? Quintus is like, yeah, get out of here. Do what women do. As they're going, though, Salonius is definitely taking note of Gaia, how she returns unencumbered and of a fine form. And he's not lying. You get a nice little shot of where the construction is of the new arena. And again, if you've seen this before and you know the size of both arenas, the old arena is, how would I put it, a sandbox compared to the new arena. And it is almost like a character in itself in this whole, basically, this half season Season 1 and bits of Season 2. Of course, I love how they did their research in this, because now we're getting to the part where they're using the public bathrooms. They were there. If you needed to take a dump, come have a seat. If you need to take a leak, have a leak. So as Salonius is taking a leak and Quintus is taking a dump, Quintus is marveling at Tullius, and he's just marveling at how well he's elevated the town of Capua, the new arena, all his business deals that he's made lately have basically put Capua on the map. And Quintus isn't wrong. How can you not admire that? You know? Not only did they have a clean stick that other people use, they also had a washcloth that other people have used. So if you're a germaphobe, you'll hate those. But after they're done their business, you know, one's leaking, one's defecating, they witness a slave falling out of the line and getting punished for it. Now this slave is Crixus, and he will make a big impact in every episode past this point. Quintus and Salonius see this, and Quintus is first to say, hey, is this one of Tullius's guys? Because I'll buy him off you. To which the guy who's beating Crixus says, well, why would you want to do that? No, it's not. Basically, well, it is implied. Quintus does turn to Salonius and says, I'm only doing this to gain favor. I want to be in Tullius's good books that I get in the new arena. And he definitely overpays. He pays 50 denarii for a stone hauler that he's going to turn into a gladiator. Not counting the 5 for, you know, the guy's own pocket. But he pays 55 denarii for a stone hauler. I don't know what the currency of denarii to dollar is nowadays, but I can imagine it's not cheap. After Quintus basically says, hey, I'm buying this guy, and I'm going to turn him into something, because I see it in his eye. This guy has the fire to do it. He can make me money. With proper reward, of course. And this is where we get a nice little segue to Gannicus's reward. 3 women and lots of wine. And this is a thing that's going all day for him, from sun up to sundown. They give you a nice little montage between 3 pairs of boobs, Gannicus having fun with them all, and the gladiators basically training in the training yard for the day. But Gannicus's reward lasts all day and all night. Lucky man. And this is where we meet Melita, who comes to collect the women. She asks Gannicus if he was well satisfied. Gannicus is like, very well. He's very proud of himself. And you can't blame the guy. I mean, he's a hell of a swordsman. He knows how to fuck the women. Guy has it all. And I don't know if this is just Dustin Clare's natural exuberance that he brings to the role, or if it's something he put into the character himself. But he has a natural exuberance, a natural ego about him. But anyway, they get back to the holding cells, where the tradition was you kept all your gladiators in the holding cells. This is where you meet Animaeus, who is Melita's husband. I didn't know slaves had the right to marriage, but I guess, you know, if you prove yourself as the champion of Capua, which of the House of Gladiatus, champion of the House of Gladiatus, which Animaeus is right now, I guess you're allowed those kind of luxuries. After a brief little discussion of how Gannicus's cock is escaping him, and he'd like to have words with his wife, to which he basically gets to the point of, you know, I haven't fought in a year, ever since I fought Theocles. Remember that name? In season 1. Has Dominus, Quintus, said anything about getting back into the arena? To which Melita says, I haven't heard anything. But be patient, the moment's coming. You know, we get to Diona talking with Navia and a couple other slave girls, to which they're asking, hey, I heard it's as big as a horse. Is that true? To which the two girls, who were obviously part of Gannicus's reward, can only giggle. Melita sends Diona off to do something and basically has a talk with Navia saying, hey, don't rush this moment. Enjoy it while you have, because rushing it will only lead to damaged goods. And I guess it's a nice way to keep them in line. By the way, as far as it turns to Gannicus, she says, I've seen bigger. Major blow to the ego. I don't know if she meant that intentionally or if it was just basically to change the topic and get the girls off of it. I don't know. Now we get to a shot where it's Lucretia and Gaia basically talking. Lucretia mentions, hey, you don't look too sad about him passing away. She's like, well, the guy was old. Well, weren't you totally in love with him? Yeah, him and his purse. But unfortunately, his fortunes weathered up as the years went on. So naturally, I ain't saying she's a gold digger. But, I mean, they also do. Lucretia does hint that, you know, maybe a lot of his fortune was spent on the jewelry you're wearing, to which Gaia shares, because she has an abundance of gifts from Rome. As long as some other pleasures to be shared. We'll get into that too. Lucretia and Gaia have a nice little moment, to which Gaia basically starts giving her some jewelry in exchange for, you know, her company. And maybe, you know, a place to stay while I make some arrangements on getting my own place, maybe getting another purse to cling on to, because that's what gold diggers do. Which, you know, the answer does come eventually, just not at this moment, because, you know, Lucretia has to ask her husband, but she's talking with Gaia right now. They're catching up. Let them do their catch-up thing. Lucretia and Gaia are basically going over how the place has changed so much since Gaia was there last. Quintus's dad, Titus, isn't there, so Quintus is just looking so more full of life now compared to when his dad was there. Gaia basically steps on Quintus's toes and saying, well, doesn't Dad still run this place? To which Lucretia's like, no, Quintus does, not Titus. But in actuality, Titus is still the paterfamilias, which is head of the house. But he is kind of semi-retired to Sicily right now, getting over sickness, getting in better health. We'll explore that in a couple episodes too. You don't see Titus just yet. Gaia hears a couple of the slaves' names. You know, does hear that, oh hey, Gannicus is there. That Celt with the charming smile. They talk about, you know, hey, you've got all these slaves under your feet. Have you not once considered fucking them? To which Lucretia's like, ew, gross. They're slaves. That's dirty. I'd only sleep with my husband. Remember that she said that. And then we get to Crixus being sent to his new digs, where he meets Asher, Dagon, and another Syrian whose name just escapes me right now. He doesn't last very long, so that's why I probably didn't mention him. But anyway, those three kind of remind Crixus, hey, you're in a ludus now. You know, enjoy the accommodations because life here is gonna suck. You're gonna train all day, every day, rain or shine, in the heat, in the cold. It don't matter. There were 8 of us when we started, but now there's only 3. Crixus reminds him, hey, no, there's 4. They have a laugh. Dagon says something in Syrian, which they do subtitle. But then Asher kind of sees the same thing Quintus saw. The burn in the eyes, the desire, the fire to want to do this. So Asher kind of realizes who the new kid in town is. The mention comes up of the test, which is the final test for new recruits. To prove yourself as a gladiator in the House of Gladiatus, you get to go head-to-head, one-on-one, with one of the veterans of the house. Best case scenario is you win or you draw, because if you lose, you die. They fought with real weapons. And right off the bat, Dagon does not like Crixus. And I don't know if it's the whole Syrian Gaul mix. Crixus is a Gaul. Dagon, Asher, and Buddy are Syrians. Gulls weren't really popular with a lot of people. But now we get to the point where Quintus is realizing he just spent 50 denarii for a stone hauler. He's having the doubts now. Did he pay too much? Did he pick up the right guy? He's just not sure. Lucretia comes out to kind of comfort him and remind him that, despite what Salonius might have said, that, hey, you should temper patience like your dad did. Lucretia says, hey, you're not your dad, and I don't want you to be your dad. Be you. Maybe, if you really wanted to gain Tullius's favor, meet him in the marketplace. You say he's there afternoons. Maybe try that out. And then ask him politely, hey, can Gaia stay here for a bit? To which Quintus is obviously like, yeah, no problem. So before Lucretia goes to tell Gaia that, hey, yeah, no, you can stay here, Quintus says, hey, let her sit with the wine for a bit more. Let her enjoy herself. And they share a moment. And like I said, there's no shortage of boobs, and Lucy Lawless is no exception. If you haven't seen it, and you remember Xena, and you always had that, oh, I wonder if your imagination ever run wild on you, this can answer your question. While they're at this, Gaia kind of walks in and sees what they're doing, and we have our first case of voyeurism. And she watches what they're doing and pleasures herself at the same time. No shame in old Rome. Now we're on day 1 of Crixus's training. And you see all the gladiators here, Octus, Barca, Animaeus, a couple more recruits, Asher, Dagon, the other Styrian. Asher's working with Crixus and basically reminding him, hey, if you leave yourself open, you're going to get hit. They're practicing with wood, by the way, not actual steel. Doctoria reminds Crixus, hey, keep yourself guarded. If you leave yourself open, you will get more like that. So they run through it again, and Crixus shows the first set of good defense. But it is wearing on him. He's getting tired. As Crixus is lying on the ground, you see Gannicus coming out of his private bedroom as the champion, or as a prize fighter, I guess. You are afforded this, that you can just walk out in the middle of the afternoon with a hangover and say, hey, I'm going to work the palace, which is a wooden dummy in the shade. So with Gannicus all hungover, looks at the pallets, and he's like, oh. Asher reminds him, hey, this guy's after gifts and reward, and he usually gets it with wine and women. To which Crixus says, I don't need those. And they go back to training. Animaeus is sparring with Barca. And as they kind of take a break from sparring, they see Quintus come out. Animaeus looks at Barca right off the bat and says, hey, I'm sorry. And Barca gives him a look, and Animaeus kicks his ass right in front of Quintus, hoping to please Quintus or impress Quintus and say, hey, give me consideration to get back in the fight. To which Quintus says, hey, train Crixus. Ouch. Slap number 1. Crixus gives him a thank you. Animaeus gives him a punch in the face, saying, rule number 1, don't drop your fucking guard. Segue over to the market, where Quintus and Salonius are on the path for Tullius. They're going to find him, and they're going to get some gratitude, not only for buying Crixus off of him, but trying to get his name in for the new arena. After running into one of Tullius's bodyguards and paying him off to gain access, Quintus does run into Tullius and Vedius. Quintus does give him the thank you for taking Crixus off his hands, but reminds him, hey, I think you overpaid. To which Vedius is like, hey, guys like him make that mistake because they have no head for business. Already trying to get under the skin. Tullius offers Quintus 50 denarii minus the 10 of Crixus's original worth. Tullius says, hey, I don't want it back. And they have a nice little conversation. Vedius kind of makes a remark about his ludus, his stable of guys. Quintus says, hey, any one of my guys can beat your guys blindfolded. Vedius goes him on into like, hey, let's make this happen. Quintus says, next month at the games. Vedius says, hey, let's do this tomorrow in the market. Quintus says, hey, Magistrate Sextus might not allow this. To which Vedius tells Quintus, hey, Tullius has Sextus's ear. It'll happen. So it's going to happen. A fight in the marketplace between one of Vedius's guys and one of Quintus's guys. That's wrong on so many levels. Blood between gladiators is not meant to be spilt in the street, but in the arena. That's the rule. Quintus goes home, kind of tells Lucretia guy of the news. And they're kind of excited, but at the same time, the question comes up, well, who are you going to choose? Quintus, in all his infinite wisdom, says, oh, I better give it some thought. I better ask some questions. I better ask my guys. But he asks Animaeus. And he kind of leads Animaeus on in the way that, hey, this is good news. My best guy gets to meet Vedius, and one of Vedius's guys, in the market tomorrow. Animaeus kind of says, in the market? Quintus says, don't worry about it, but is my guy ready? Is my champion ready? Animaeus, thinking it's him, says, I long to honor this house once again. Quintus tells him, hey, I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about Gannicus. He's my champion. He's the champion of the House of Gladiatus. Right then and there, Animaeus just got stripped of his title as champion of the House of Gladiatus. Slap number 2. Very ouch. Animaeus reminds him, hey, that's a question better posed to Doctori. Quintus kind of tells him, hey, it's not that I don't understand that, I just don't trust his opinion. Because Doctori is one of my dad's old guys. You and I have grown up together, and they explain this in Season 2. And we've seen a rise and fall of many champions for the House of Gladiatus. I trust your judgment better than I trust anybody, so is my champion ready. Animaeus says, yeah, he's ready. Quintus kind of points out that, hey, you're a good person for putting your own agenda ahead of everybody else's, ahead of anything else. Animaeus says, hey, it's not my place to be like that. Not in those words. But as a reward for his counsel, Animaeus gets to spend some time with his wife 2 nights ahead of his schedule. So now we get to the moment where Animaeus and Melita are spending some time together. Melita points out that, hey, you're sulking. Why are you sulking? So Animaeus tells her of what's going on between Vedius's man and Gannicus. And she reminds Animaeus that, hey, the street is no place for a champ like you to return. You belong in the arena. That's where you should return. And again, there's no shortage of boobs. Now, after their time is up, obviously, Animaeus has to say good night and goodbye to Melita, because Melita is Lucretia's body slave. As that's happening, Gannicus is singing a nice little drunken song about blood raining down from an angry sky. My cock rages on. My cock rages on. Animaeus hears him and sees him and reminds him, hey, you gotta fight tomorrow. Get sober, get some sleep. You need the rest. You need to be on your wits. Gannicus just does not take this seriously at the moment. So one more time, Animaeus says, hey, go to bed. To which Gannicus basically concedes and says, hey, I get it. I hear ya. As they turn away to say goodnight, Gannicus does look at Animaeus and say, hey, it should be you out there tomorrow. Animaeus kind of nods. He's like, I know. He is very, very not happy about the decision, but he'll go with it. Segue to the next morning in the marketplace. Here comes Quintus, here comes Salonius, here comes Gannicus, and here comes Doctori. And they run into Titus, Tullius, Vedius, and the magistrate, as well as Vedius's man. Gaia and Titus kind of lock eyes, being like, hey, been too long, you're looking really good. But pressing matters come to push. And it's, hey, let's get down to fighting now. But I got some words for you. Vedius has a couple words back, to which is to something to the effect of, hey, words fall out of your mouth as shit falls out of an ass. Titus is kind of introducing them now. They've had their words. Now let's have some room. Battle between houses to prove who's better. Gaia takes a nice little look at Tullius, saying, hey, he's done well for his age. Lucretia says, hey, his purse is just as good. Doctori is questioning the fight in the street, as he should. Salonius is kind of happy. He's like, hey, maybe this will actually get us some money. We need to get paid. Maybe this will get us paid. Gladiator makes the introduction of Gannicus. Kind of gives him like a good little boast. Slayer of beasts. The fiercest Celt ever. This is his champion. Vedius, being the cocky little Roman that he is, introduces Ortho with no words of encouragement, no stroke to the ego, just like, Ortho, get out there. Kick his ass. Ortho, the same guy who taunted him in the arena before, it's like, hey, your day finally comes. Gannicus is like, hey, yours finally ends. They both have their swords. Ortho has a shield. Gannicus does not fight with a shield. But Vedius stops the match, saying, hey, Gannicus is missing the blindfold. What blindfold? That was your boast. Prove it. Gannicus is obviously taken by this. Your gladiator could best any of my men, absent sight. Yeah, he's fucked. Tullius, yeah, I was there. You said it. Oh, hey, it was just a figure of speech. It's like, no. If you can't honor terms, you need to get out of here with your tail between your legs. What do? Gannicus, realizing, hey, this could be my last fight, and I might not even see it. But, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. Come on, put on the blindfold. But Gannicus, it shouldn't be hard. I was pointing my swords in wherever it smells like shit. Well, it's not that easy, my friend. Not that easy. And we begin. Ortho taps his shield before he goes for the charge and grunts like a pig at almost every move he makes. But Gannicus is holding his own really nicely. Even manages to clip Ortho from the knee and almost wrestle. Well, he does wrestle the knife out of his hand. But then Ortho gets on top. And very, kind of like most MMA fighters, right now it's very ground and pound, right to the face. Gannicus gets him in a Kimura lock. Before Ortho's like, no, I'm picking you up and I'm powerbombing you on the ground. Now, to the uneducated viewer, I don't know if you've ever been powerbombed, much less powerbombed on pavement. I have been powerbombed a few times. Never on pavement. On a table, and I did go through it, and it did hurt. Powerbombs anywhere, even on soft places, hurt. Even if you land it wrong. So at this point now that Ortho kind of has the upper hand. Gannicus is down, He's blindfolded and weaponless. So Ortho picks up a sword, gives him a nice little cut across the chest. Have a souvenir. Gannicus is actually managing to get in some defense, though, and manages to block off a sword attack with one of his wrist guards. But that didn't last long, because now Ortho still is pressing the advantage. They're back up, throws him against the wall, grabs a spike, and stabs him right in here. But Gannicus isn't dead. He's just bleeding. And, a little sore. Probably no worse for wear, but aware of his surroundings to know that he's behind a pile of wood. So Ortho goes in for the slice. Gannicus ducks and slams Ortho's head into that pile of wood before putting his neck, which is stuck. His sword is stuck in the wood. And Gannicus kind of puts his neck on the sword and pushes down slow and brings it back up, takes out the sword, and there's your blood shower. He's bloodletting all over the place. So now the streets of the market in Capua were witness to a gladiator fight. Obviously, Vedius is not happy. He just lost a man in the market. Tullius has the wheels moving now. And Quintus, Slonius, they're happier than pigs in poop. Perhaps maybe Vedius should pick a man less prone to death. Magistrate Sextus is very impressed. Tullius comes up, says, "Hey, that was awesome, Quintus." Quintus is like, "Hey, you have to consider him for the games." Tullius is like, "Yeah, that was my thought too. You should come after the market closes to one of the shops that I run, and we should talk in length." We get back to Ludus. Fight's over. Everybody's going back home. And Barca, like all the gladiators are in basically the common room, if you want to call it that. The gods took pity on Gannicus for being able to live in a fight without a blindfold. Gannicus says, "Hey, the gods had nothing to do with it. I just knew what I was doing. Can't blame me for being good." Gannicus also comes in and says, "Hey, Dominus has rewarded me with all the wine I can drink, and I'd share it with my brothers, the ones that bear the mark." The mark is basically almost like a tattoo, something that's saying you are part of the brotherhood. You belong with the school of gladiators. So guys like Dagon, Asher, Crixus, and the fourth character whose name I don't remember, they just get to watch everybody drink now. So have fun with that. Segue to Lucretia, Quintus, Gaia, Navia obviously having to be there as the body slave. Talk about, hey, maybe Gannicus can get into the Primus. The Primus is the main event of any gladiator games. But they have their moments, they're considering the idea, hey, maybe this is a good thing, this can happen, before Quintus has to go back to the market to meet Tullius. So Quintus leaves, and Lucretia, Gaia, they're still bad-mouthing Titus, and how Titus held down Quintus. Basically just muted his light. And maybe Titus just was against anything that reeked or smacked of pleasure, and then pulls out a nice little vial of opium. Now we all know what opium is. Lucretia has not partaken in this in many years. Gaia, that's no problem, let me just put some in your drink. So they're both drinking opium. You know where this is going to go, right? Segue to the market. Tullius is basically welcoming Quintus, saying, "Hey, we watched a good fight in the market. Your name is off everybody's lips. They're all talking about it still." And Vedius is kind of pissed off. This is where we find out a lot, actually. Quintus basically points out that, hey, his guys, his gladiators, are inferior. They're, not the best quality, much like the man himself. Tullius is asking more about Titus, how he's doing in Sicilia. Sicilia or Sicily? I think it was Sicilia. But all Quintus wants to talk about is how everybody perceived the reaction of Gannicus. Tullius is quick to say, hey, no, everybody still loves it. They're still buzzing about it. And we want him in the games. In the opening of the new arena. Quintus thinking, hey, if you can help me out in this, I'll gladly pay you for the help. Tullius says, hey, given the right ear, given the right set of mouth, it can happen, but we got to talk money here. Quintus is like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll pay you. What do you got in mind? Tullius is quick to remind him, hey, I'm not trying to buy you in. I'm trying to buy your man. What do you mean, buy my guy? Well, you're not a Leonista. You don't need gladiators. And Tullius is like, yeah, no. But I own, multiple stocks in various things. Shipping, this beef shop here, and Vedius's Ludus. I'm funding Vedius right now. Quintus obviously taken by this. And Vedius is like, oh, look at you now, you little fuck. Tullius is like, hey, shut up. The girls are talking. Offers Quintus 200 denarii. A very generous offer for Gannicus. Quintus has to say, hey, I'm sorry. Apologies. He's not for sale. Now Tullius is miffed. He's like, hey, I gave you the opportunity to buy one of my guys. And you're denying me the same opportunity to buy one of your guys. Overinflated what you paid for my guy. Quintus is like, I'm not selling him. And then Quintus's bodyguard gets jumped from behind. So you know where this is going. Vedius has the blindfold over Tullius's head, and Tullius over Quintus's head, and we pan off into Gaia and Lucretia. Now, right now they've had how much, I don't know, opium. They're body hide right now. They're feeling it, and they're feeling each other. And we have a nice little lesbian moment before we pan back out to Quintus getting his ass beat, handed to him on a silver platter. Back over to the lesbian scene. And again, no shortage of boobs. At all. And then back over to Quintus getting his ass kicked. And then back over to Gaia and Lucretia. And then back over to Vedius getting his licks in. And then back over to the girls. And then back over to Vedius. And more boobs. And more boot fuck. And more boobs. And then Tullius finally says, hey, let's stop here. He's got a neat little witty line. I make fair offer. And you produce cock to piss on me. Do you know what that feels like? Not even a moment. He lifts up his toga, pulls out his dick, and pisses on Quintus. Ooh. Insult at its finest, even in old Rome. I think it's good 30, 45 second piss time. After he's done, he crouches down. He's like, reconsider your answer, or be excluded you from the games forever. Neat little twist at the end. Vedius kind of spits on Quintus as they kind of pan in on him, the beating he just took, then pan over to the new arena. It's like, hey, it's coming. And with that, episode 1's over. That was episode 1 of Gods of the Arena, Past Transgressions. And what do I think? If this was a first episode, if this was a series opener, and not a half-season opener, I would probably love it a lot more. But this is not by any means a bad episode. There was no I couldn't find anything that I thought wrong with it. I mean, it's just written so well. Written so well. It was written by Stephen DeKnight, who created the series. And it was so well written. I mean, all the main characters, all the characters of note, all had ample time and ample moments in this episode. So on the Trev scale, I don't know what else to call it other than the not broken Dave Meltzer gimmick. On the Trev scale, I'm giving it 4 out of 5. So as of right now, this is the best episode in the series. As of now. But that was episode 9 of Trev's review show here on Trev TV. Yeah, it was take 2. But I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm glad you did. Your viewership always means so much to me. Always has, always will. And I do appreciate you. I really do. But if you like this video, feel free to press the like button. If you didn't like it, hey, press like anyway. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And if you want, there's a subscribe button somewhere over here. You can press that too. You know, I mean, the count to 50 is still on. I'm only at 14. We're getting there. So, it would be nice to know that you appreciate watching me. I got more videos coming this month. A few more videos this month. I got one that I got to get written in a week. Yeah, I got to write this one. But, as well as at least 2 more hockey videos. Now that I have a start on Spartacus, I want to start on Transformers. Once I start Transformers, I'm going to start Rome. Once I start Rome, I'm going to start South Park. Like I said, I'm not doing one at a time. I'm doing one. And like I said, the more of this I can do, the easier it'll be to do, because as soon as one series is over, it's less to do. But having said all that, in the meantime, and in between time, be on the lookout for more videos from Trev. Later.